Mind or matter? Which one's better? Hey everyone, it's me Joji, and today we're going to be taking a look and upgrading the Mewtwo and the Melmetal V battle decks. Now these are level 1, but just looking at the list on the back for each one and what's included in this box, this may be one of the best battle deck pair I have seen in a while, especially at a level 1. These are really good Pokemon to start off with. So let's get right into it and see what else comes with these Mewtwo and Melmetal V. As you can see, we do get a Mewtwo V and a Melmetal V. Here is the back. You can see the lists right there, which we'll take a closer look at right now. But in this special version of the duo, you do get some extra stuff here. You get the boss's orders, we get the professor's research, egg incubator, lure module, rare candy, on top of some extra Pokemon Go booster packs and some other goodies. But honestly, that is not bad for a V battle deck duo here. So let's get it opened up. We do get, as you can kind of see here, the cards: Professor Willow Hollow, 2 packs of Pokemon Go, and each of the V battle decks. Now we're gonna take a look at these packs first, followed by what's in the extra little goodie packs, followed by Mewtwo and then Melmetal. Okay, so let's start off with some pack openings. Why not? You know, this is, I believe, the first time they have included booster packs in one of their V battle decks. Maybe this could be a trend we could see in the future, which would be great in my opinion. Let's see, we got Blanche, Ivysaur, Charmander, Aipom, Bulbasaur, and I do need to remember there is a chance that we're gonna get something good in the reverse spot. Not this time around. It is a Spark reverse, followed by a Pikachu Hollow. And if you didn't know, the Pokemon Go sets, they all have hollows at the ends, which is not bad. Okay, second pack. I mean, if you were pretty lucky, you could end up getting something to go with either the Melmetal or the Mewtwo. Maybe a second Mewtwo or a second Melmetal, or if you're even more lucky, getting the VMAX Melmetal or the Mewtwo V-Star. Those would be great additions, obviously, to these upgrades, which we'll go over in a second. You may even see some of those cards I just mentioned. Xatu, followed by a Sylveon. So unfortunately, we didn't get anything out of those packs, but we do get the extra goodie cards here, which in my opinion are definitely worth it, because obviously Hollow, Professor's Research. I believe the ones you get in this set are not actually Hollow, which is cool. Here are 3 Professor's Research, not bad. 2 Boss's Orders, Hollow. This is the Giovanni version from Rebel Clash, pretty far back there. Some lure module, egg incubators, the rare candies, and of course the code card for all these cards here. As you'll see in a bit, we are going to be using some of these cards right here in our upgrades. But first, obviously, let's go into the contents of each one of those V battle decks. Okay, let's start off with Mewtwo V here. I always forget they're jumbo coins, but this one's a little bit more different because most of them will have some sort of white backing, sort of like this one over here, a black backing. This one's a Cleavor V-Star box one, I believe. That is actually really cool. Oh my gosh, just for the coin alone. I do believe someone has mentioned in the comments before that if you get the single version of these decks, you do get this jumbo coin like this, but that is one of the best coins I've seen in a while. Which one do you guys prefer? The black border here, or the black outlining background, or this white outline kind of style. I kind of like this one from Mewtwo. It looks really cool. But going on, let's not go crazy about just a coin. We do have some actual Pokemon cards to take a look at. Here is the Mewtwo V, which I believe is the same one that you get in the Pokemon Go set. Nothing different. It is, although a promo. You do get a code for the actual full list of the deck online. And then you get your general stuff like you do with every other V-Battle deck. Although this manual is a different material from before, but I believe it's still the same information. Let's take a look at actually this mat. These mats are always some cool design. There is the Mewtwo one, which honestly, this is a cool mat. If it were actual kind of like a play mat like this one, I would get it. And again, it's a new material. I think they are switching to some more eco-friendly material, but that is a cool kind of poster you could put up. Those two really look battle ready. What the heck? That is some really cool artwork. Kudos to the drawers of this. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at the cards within the actual box here. Okay, so we got them sorted out, and not the best cards now that I look at them. Some of them are kind of weirdly placed. I don't know why they chose some of these cards, but let's go ahead and take a look at them, and maybe you can decide why they just put these in there. So starting off, we did get a 3-3-2 line of Hatterene, and then the Hatterene. Although I'm not too familiar with the Witch Rondo here, it does seem like it's a decent ability. So it could replace some boss's orders, but having this many cards just for a boss effect is way too much in my opinion. You could definitely just get, if you wanted to, 3 or even 4 bosses orders and just get rid of this whole line here. Followed by another weird inclusion in my opinion, the Staryu 3-2 line. I get it, it is a psychic Pokemon which does decent damage with psychic here, doing 10 plus 30 more for each energy attached to your opponent's Pokemon. And let's say they are a Blissey, or even some sort of Arceus, or maybe even Dialga, this is going to do pretty good damage, but I don't think Starmie's the best choice when it comes to trying to knock out one of those heavy hitter Pokemon. And now the really weird one, in my opinion, because it is missing cards to go with it, is a 2 line of Lunatone. And if you have seen any other TCG videos on decks and deck overviews, you know that there is a Stones version where it's Lunatone Solrock. It is crazy good in my opinion. I have a version of it on TCG Online that I play with every once in a while. It's a good deck, but I don't think it needs to be included in the Mewtwo V. We then have another weird inclusion. We have a Minccino 2 Cinccino 1 line. I guess it's probably for triple axle here to do, I don't know, potential 150. It's not great. It is great for 2 energy, but not that great. And finally, we have 2 Indeedee. This one, again, probably for the psychic ability, similar to Staryu's. Honestly, if you wanted to use this one instead of the Starmie, because you have to evolve that one, this one just goes straight into the battle. So those are the Pokemon. Let's move on to the trainer cards. Now, there is a decent amount, and honestly, for a starter deck, and if you're a new player, these are actually, I mean, pretty standard in my opinion. Although, as much as I don't like the generic draw 3 character, Berry is honestly not that bad of a card to use in most situations. Drawing 3 is fine, but there's other cards that do it better, like Birdcatcher, which lets you switch out your Pokemon and draw 3. Just a suggestion, or of course you can always use those professors' research that we did get, which we'll see in the upgrade portion. We also get Bugcatcher, which honestly has one of the weirdest effects ever. Flip a coin, you get 2 more after you've drawn 2. You could honestly just go with the professors. You don't need these Bugcatchers. And one of the more decent choices in these decks, Shauna, which lets you shuffle your hand into your deck and then draw 5. Really good. Maybe you don't want to reposition your opponent's hand like a Marnie would. Shauna is a good alternative in my opinion. And now let's move on to the item cards in this deck, which honestly are pretty good for this deck. Although, I mean, honestly, the worst part of this deck so far has been the Pokemon choice. There are so many weird choices in this Pokemon. I don't know where to start. But let's go on with the item cards. We get a 4-line of Great Ball. Makes sense for this weird plethora of Pokemon. You want to have Great Balls. But then we also get the new kind of an item on the block, Lure Module, which is okay, but it helps your opponent. And I don't know where it would be a good case to use Lure Module and help your opponent with this ability. So it's honestly, there's maybe a use case for it, but I have never seen it. Followed by, sadly, a 2/2 line of Evo Incense. With the amount of evolutions we're seeing here, like if there's 2 evolutions here, there's one here. That's what, 4? We needed at least 4 of these. I don't know why they only give us 2. I would have been fine with losing a Lure Module, or maybe in the next cards we see, for some Evo Incense. We get 2 Egg Incubators here. It's a decent draw card, although keep in mind it has to be a basic Pokemon, and there's so many other good cards that do this better, like Level Ball. So if you want to get these, use a Level Ball. If you want to get this, Level Ball. Even Lunatone, Level Ball. Mewtwo, can't use Level Ball, but Quick Ball is another alternative. So there's that. And then we're ending off with 1 sets of Energy Switch and regular Switch. Would have loved more switches. Energy Switch, I don't understand this one. I'm trying to figure out what Pokemon attaches with their ability. The only one I can think of is in Dindy. But even so, just 1 Energy Switch is never enough. In my opinion, you want to have multiple, because these can get prized fairly easily. Oh, and I can't forget the energy, which is a total of 18, I believe, as usual. Energy, psychic energy to be precise. So this is the Mewtwo V version of the battle deck. I will already say that a lot of these Pokemon are going to disappear. Definitely just disappear. We don't need them. Some of these trainer cards may stay. I'm still iffy on whether we should keep Shauna or switch it out for Marnie. It's really a toss-up, and it depends on what you're really used to. If you really want to not help out your opponent by letting them get the 4, or if you do want to use that disruption, switch it out for Marnies. Bugcatchers, probably going. Great Balls, we may switch those out for something else, maybe Quick Balls or Ultra Ball, maybe even Level Balls. Evo Incense, we're actually going to add more of those, but I'll cover the rest of these upgrades in a second. Let's take a look at the Melmetal V side of the deck. Oh, and before I forget, here is the code for that Mewtwo V side of the V Battle deck. Okay, taking a look at the Melmetal side of the V Battle deck, let's get the stuff out of here. We do, of course, get the Melmetal V, which, again, same thing as the one in the regular Pokemon Go set, just that this one is a Black Star promo. We'll take a look at this code later. We get a box of the cards, the usual, information. Why not? And let's take a look at this Melmetal version, at least from the front. of the playmat that you get. Honestly, I love this. Melmetal is one of my favorite Pokemon. This is a great mat, and let's just show it off because I still love this artwork here. That is a really great artwork for a playmat. Honestly, it just blows my mind that they did that just for a playmat. All right, but as usual, we're gonna sort these and then we'll go over them in a second. So I'll preface this side with, when I saw the list, I was excited because I thought they were doing certain cards with the same name in this Melmetal specifically, but I was completely wrong, and I'll show you what I mean right now. So they said that there was going to be some Galarian Meowths and Galarian Berserkers, a 4-3 line to be exact. So we got this Galarian Meowth and this Galarian Berserker. Now, when I thought it said those two cards, I thought it was going to be the Evolution Roar Galarian Meowth, and I forget the ability, but it adds 20 more attack to your metal Pokemon. I thought it was those two, which would have been an amazing combo, to be honest. We're probably going to switch all these out for those kind of Galarian Meowth and Berserker, but for now, they'll sit there. We follow it up with 2 of each here, actually, sorry, 3 Cobalion, followed by 2 Magearna. Honestly, Cobalion has never been a good card to me. I do kind of like the Magearna being able to do the 110, which is okay. Overhaul is not bad either. We get a 3-3-2 line of Pidove, Tranquil, Unpheasant, which honestly, decent attack, although it is behind coin flips, being able to do a total of 7 times 4, which is 280 damage here, possible. But again, behind coin flips, there's always some sort of caveat like that, unfortunately. And it's so unfortunate that it is on just a normal type Pokemon like that. Let's go on to the trainer cards. Now, similar to the previous one, which is not bad, consistency is always pretty good. We get 4 Berry, 2 Bugcatcher, and 2 Shauna. Following this kind of repetitiveness, we do get 4 Great Ball, 3 Lure Modules, 2 Evo Incense, 2 Egg Incubators, and then 1 Switch. And then the only difference from the other one and this one in items is we get a Metal Saucer instead of a Energy Switch. And of course, we do get the 18 Metal Energy. Overall, I think now looking back at these 2 deck lists, they definitely made these very similar because they know a lot of Pokemon Go players may try out the TCG because of this collaboration that they're doing. So they may want to try something that is pretty similar to each other so they could switch over to something else. And the only real difference is the Pokemon. But overall, the items, the trainers, and I guess the energy are different or pretty much the same. I mean, it's just a different color, honestly. Gray versus purple. It's not the best, obviously, if you're getting this as a bit more seasoned and maybe you want to start making a Melmetal V deck. We'll show you how to make a better upgraded version of it in a second. I actually almost forgot that we do have a coin, but this one I was surprised to find it is the black background and lining for Melmetal. I kind of did hope that it was the white one similar to this one, but it's okay. This one honestly is one of my favorites out of these 2. Oh, and of course, before I forget as well, here's the code for this deck list right here. So we'll go over the list for the Mew V upgraded deck first, followed by the Melmetal V upgraded one. So let's get to it. Okay, so starting off on how we would upgrade the Mew V side of the deck, we're gonna start off with a 4-3 line of the Mewtwo V Star. Now, this is probably going to be the most expensive upgrade you do to either of these decks, because these Mewtwo V Star, I believe, go for a pretty price. That's why if you can't do that many, at least do 2, 3, but optimally you want to do a 3-4 line. Mew V Star is a must if you're running this deck. Just look at the attack there. Star Raid, being able to do 120 onto the bench, not bad at all. And I didn't add it into this deck, but if you wanted to, you can increase that amount to 150 with Telescopic Sight, which is on the screen right now. Great item card to attach this for a Poke Tool. It really synergizes well with Mewtwo V Star. But again, a 4-3 line, and if you can't do a 4-3, at least try doing a 2-3. Going on, we are going to show off another Pokemon that might be slightly expensive depending on the times. This is a 3-2 line of the Shadow Rider Calyrex VMAX. Now, the reason we use this guy is this ability right here, Underworld Door. Being able to attach one psychic energy from your hand to one of your benched Pokemon is an easy free attach to any psychic type Pokemon that you have in this deck. It's really good. It synergizes well if you're trying to set up the Mewtwo or even the Calyrex. Max Geist is decent. We do run a significant amount of energy for this deck, so you can reach high numbers with that attack. And remember, Max Geist goes off of the energy attached to all your Pokemon, both in the bench and in play. So that is why we run a 2-3 line. We don't want to take the spotlight away from, obviously, Mewtwo V and V Star. Moving on to actually cards that came with the deck is a 2-3-3 line of the Hatenna, Hatterem, and the Hatterene cards. Now, I was very hesitant of whether or not to keep these in, but because of the addition of the Shadow Rider Calyrex and its Underworld Door, this is actually pretty decent of an ability. Being able to switch out your Pokemon and then actually forcing your opponent to also switch their Pokemon and then attaching what you need to is a really good ability, in my opinion. So that is why we keep these cards in the deck instead of replacing them. But other than those, we do have, which unfortunately I don't have the cards for this, but it is a 2-2 line of Minccino and the Cinccino from base set Sword and Shield. Now that one is really interesting, where it lets you draw cards by discarding cards. So it's essentially your draw support if you need it within this deck. But yeah, it's on the screen right now, so that's the card we're going to be putting in place of these two placeholders. And last but not least is a single Pumpkaboo. Now we run this single Pumpkaboo because we want to avoid getting our Underworld Door removed by, say, a Path to the Peak. So adding this guy in really helps with being able to discard that card and not having to worry about losing Underworld Door as a good energy surge card. All right, moving on to the supporters. We start off with a 4 line of Professor's Research. You do get, I believe, 3 if you buy the double pack, but we want to run 4, and they're not that expensive, so I'd say at least get the 4 if you can. And then we actually keep the 2 Shauna that came with this deck. You could, if you get the double pack, put in the other 2, or in my opinion, the better choice is to actually replace it with Marnie. Get some Marnies, although they do get to switch in their cards, so it could help them, but most times will be detrimental because they're going to be getting 4 cards, which could be lower than the amount they actually had in their hand. Okay, so for the item cards in this deck, we are starting off with 4 Great Balls, so you don't have to worry about replacing those. We're going to keep them just for now, but we are getting rid of those lure modules, which in my opinion are a worse Great Ball. So just run the Great Balls. You do not need to run those lure modules or even the egg incubators. Instead, you can run some Quick Balls, in my opinion, are a better choice to run instead. And you do get 2 Evo Incense, but I say bring that up to 4 because of the evolution card you have here. You could also include some rare candies if you wanted to for this line right here, but you don't really need them anywhere else. So maybe just 2 rare candies if you want to. You could replace maybe 2 of the great balls for that. Just mix and match. But we're also running 2 switches. It came with 1, but if you get the double pack, you can use the one from the other. And then rounding it off with a Hisuian Heavy Ball. This, honestly, I feel like should be an inclusion in almost all decks that run some really low sets, like a 2-2, or sorry, 2-3 or 2-2 here. You may prize a card, so using Hisuian Heavy Ball lets you get that Pokemon from your prizes, and even lets you know what's actually prized in your prize cards, and that way you can work around your strategy that way. But yeah, one single one, at least you can get maybe your Shadow Rider VMAX, or if you're unlucky enough to get maybe 2 or 3 of these prized, you can get one of those. And then rounding out with the energy, we have a total of 12 energy today for this deck. Now, this is, as I would put it, to keep it in a budget friendly area. Again, your Mewtwo V Stars and your other Mewtwo V, possibly these Shadow Rider cards, could be the most expensive part of this deck. But for the most part, the other things are very flexible in pricing. Again, if you want, you can replace these 2 Shauna with Marnie instead, or you can even replace some of the Professor Research, and this whole line here can be replaced as well. You can even cut this up, and actually, if you wanted to put rare candies into this deck, you can get rid of 2 Hatterines and replace them with those rare candies, so you can go straight from the Hatterena to the Hatterene. And if you wanted some more additions, you could always remove energy. There are 12 in here. You don't necessarily need that many, but it's safe to have them, especially if you're starting off with Pokemon. But if you do want to replace them, Old Cemetery and Fog Crystal are good suggestions to add to this deck. They're very helpful for Psychic Pokemon. And honestly, I'd say give it a shot. Old Cemetery really went well with the Shadow Rider. Maybe it'll help out with this deck. Oh, and let's not forget that Telescopic Sight. You can at least add 1 or 2 would be enough to help this Mewtwo. So that is the upgrades for the Mewtwo V and my suggestions as well for upgrading what we currently have here. But let's go check out what we can do with the Melmetal V. Okay, so starting off with Melmetal and how we would upgrade that part of the line. Let's make it a 4-3 line of Melmetal V, Melmetal VMAX. Now, Melmetal VMAX is vital when it comes to Melmetal V, with its G Max Juggernaut doing 160 plus a potential 120 for a total of 280. That can knock out almost every single V-Star Pokemon currently out there, with the exception of a few, especially if they have some sort of item to increase their health, but still, it is a heavy hitter regardless. And with 330 HP, it's not going to get knocked down easily. So definitely you want to run some Melmetal VMAX with your Melmetal V. Next up, we have Bronzong and Bronzor as a 3-3 line, and unfortunately I don't have the Bronzors on me, but Bronzong is very helpful with its metal transfer ability, being able to, as often as you like, move your energies back and forth between your Pokemon is going to be very helpful once you see what we're doing with this and the Melmetals. And then rounding out our Pokemon for this deck, we have a 2-2 line of the Galarian Berserker we actually had in this deck, using the Call to Master, which helps you add on 2 basic energy whenever you use that attack. And these are actually going to be the Evolutionary Roar Galarian Meowths. That way you can get these guys out so much sooner. Moving on to the trainers, we have actually a 3 line of Professor's Research. We aren't going to be running 4. As you'll see in a second, we wanted to make some space for some other trainers. And then we're going to be running a 2-2 line of Cheryl. Although I would prefer to run more, right now I think 2 is enough. And now Cheryl is very important because it lets you, let me bring it back up, heal all the damage on your evolution Pokemon. As always with these good effects, you have to discard all energy from your Pokemon when they are healed. That means you want to move the energy with that Bronzong's metal transfer. before you heal. And remember, it heals all your evolution Pokemon. So if you have one of these on your bench with damage on them, you should move the energy away from it first before healing, because it will remove that energy that it had on it. And of course, the same goes if you have any damage on these two. But most likely, this guy is going to be the one that has any damage if it has been attacked. Alright, so let's move on to the other trainers. We run another 2 Boss's Orders, which helps you get those knockouts with, if you can't hit the 280, or maybe you can hit at least the 220, you can bring something up with the Boss's Orders and knock that out instead. And then finally, Shauna. Keeping these, it's a decent supporter for being able to shuffle and get some more cards back that way. But of course, you can always replace it with something like a Marnie. Okay, moving on to some of the item cards we're going to include in this deck. We have 4 Great Balls. Again, we are keeping the Great Balls. It's nice to have some Great Balls, you know? That way you don't have to worry about any other type of Pokeball. Great Ball is decent enough. If you wanted, you could add Ultra Balls, but we already have the Quick Balls in a 4-line here, so we don't need the Ultra Balls too much. And we do run a 4-line of Evo Incense for the VMAX, the Bronzong, and the Berserkers if we need to. Next up, we have some Metal Saucer. Now, if you're going to discard a card, you want it to be a Metal Energy, especially when you want to use it synergized with the Quick Ball, and then you Metal Saucer something onto that benched Pokemon. Really great way to just cycle in faster your energy, because again, it needs 3, potentially 5 in order to do that 280. And then we have 2 switches. Just because they're so big, you do want to switch them out for possibly a refreshed one. And then a single Hisuian Heavy Ball. Again, we aren't too heavy on the Pokemon here, but just in case, you never know. It's a rule of thumb nowadays to just have at least one of these in case something does get prized. So that's why we run 1. And then rounding out our actual trainer cards is a Stadium, which is Crystal Cave, which helps with that healing right there. Being able to heal 30 from each of your metal, and we don't run dragon, but dragon Pokemon. But using that 30 could help stop a 2-hit knockout and turn it into a 3-hit knockout. And rounding out, we have a total of 12 energies right here to run with this Melmetal deck. So looking back at this, obviously we are very light on the Pokemon, so you may run into a lot of mulligans. If you wanted to add some Pokemon, first of all, take out at least 2 of these, maybe put in a Crobat V or Liminion V if you want to help out that way with draw support, or if you want to grab your supporters that way. Speaking of supporters, Shauna is always an easy replacement with a Marnie, so go ahead and do that. Or if you wanted to, there are other cards like Roxanne or Judge, but remember with Roxanne, your opponent needs to have a certain amount of prized cards to play. Another replacement potential is Great Ball. As I said, you could replace it with Ultra Balls or even some other Pokemon if you think you already have enough draw support for your Pokemon that way. But overall, I think this deck is pretty well optimized for some sort of self-healing kind of thing with Crystal Cave and Cheryl. If you wanted to actually put more Cheryl to heal that way, or even put some Hyper Potions in, that would be perfectly fine. Again, Great Ball's a good place to start, so are the Energy, but most of the other cards you want to keep. So that is how I would upgrade the Melmetal V deck, and some options if you wanted to. Again, more Cheryl, replace with Marnie, etc. So that is how I would upgrade the Mewtwo and Melmetal V decks. What do you think of these 2 cards? Honestly, I'm a big fan of the Mewtwo and the Melmetal. I really love both of these Pokemon almost equally. They're 2 of my favorite Pokemon, and I'm glad that they got some love and affection when it came to these battle decks. I just kind of wish they were maybe the League battle decks. But hopefully these upgrades help these 2 become more competitive, and hopefully they see some more League play in the future. If you found these upgrades informative and educational and even helpful, get subscribed and leave a like and comment down below. Let me know how you would upgrade these decks. What changes would you do to the ones that I said, or do you agree with some of these replacements like the Shauna for a Marnie, more Cheryls, possibly Fog Crystals? Leave it in a comment down below. Anyways, as always, stay safe, and thanks for watching.